Hello and good morning. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an outstanding 75 plus minute show for you today. Again, I've shrunk the shows down, not significantly. Normally they were over 2 hours. Now we're keeping them like under 90 minutes because again, for my back, sitting in this chair for more than 2 hours is just not good. But we do have three topics that we're going to get into that should set off your weekend plans with a quote unquote bang. It should be a lot of fun. We have a lot of opinions. It's just three of us, and again, the smaller panels seem to work. But there's been a lot of happenings this week. The PlayStation 5 Pro came out to a whimper. Unfortunately, again, I don't know if this was done on purpose or accidentally on purpose, as the kids like to say, but Kojima announcing that Death Stranding was available for $20 on Xbox Series X and S and enhanced on Xbox Series X and S the same day that the Pro came out. Anyone that is anybody, all they did is talk about, well, a PlayStation 5, a PlayStation 4 exclusive on Xbox. Is this the canary in the coal mine? We talked about it yesterday, me and C Money. I do think it is. I do think that it is the canary in the coal mine for what I believe is going to be a couple of other titles coming over in 2025. I believe that the Helldivers 2 is going to be coming over. I believe Lego Horizon will be coming over to Xbox. And I think after that, the dam is going to be broken open because they're going to make money. Look, you can't take away from the fact that Sony has quality games. Whether or not you see, I personally don't see it the same way I don't see a Halo on a PlayStation. I don't see a God of War on an Xbox. I just don't. But something like a Spider-Man, I do because they don't own it. They own the movie rights, but they don't own Spider-Man. And I think that, Disney is looking at why we releasing on one platform when we can release on multiple platforms and make money. And Sony is in a bit of a fiscal crisis right now with some of their poor investments. But we're not actually covering that today. It's just, part of the rhetoric, I guess, if you will, for the spiel when we open up the show. We are covering, man, the biggest disappointment for me as a PlayStation fan, and I'm disappointed in PlayStation Nation. We'll get to why in a second. Korkenstein, good morning, kind sir. Welcome back. How you feeling?
Hey, doing good, doing good. Yeah, I'm pretty bummed out too about that news. It's I was a big fan of the game. I loved it.
Top three of the year for me.
Yeah, it's such a great platformer, but yeah, and they say, we rent our games and we don't buy, but that's a different story.
Yeah,
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, no, we are going to break it down. We're going to get into it for sure. We're going to have some fun with the conversation. But Fuzzy Belvedere, good morning, kind sir. How you doing? Welcome back.
Yes, good morning. Glad to be here with you guys. Man, social media has been, wild for its usual, topics and things like that. But yeah, Astrobot and the PlayStation Nation, we'll get into that. But just glad to be here. Been playing a lot of games. Looking forward to the South of Midnight stuff that's coming up. Starting to build up some buzz again. But been hitting some of the old titles like Prey,
Nice.
Outer Worlds, and still hitting Starfield with the Shattered Space DLC. Even hopped into some older games, or some recent adds to Game Pass. I think it was like Turnip Boy robs a bank and a few.
Oh wow!
So just been playing a lot of games, getting some achievement points while I'm at it.
Nice. Listen, folks, I pulled away the gameplay for some reason. It's a little bit slowing down. So I just want to let the show kind of stabilize itself on YouTube. I'll bring it back in a hot second. But listen, you're here for the conversation, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But listen, let's Korkenstein, let's open up with the big news. Now, last night on the socials, it was basically posted by everyone that unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on whether or not your glass is half empty or half full on this conversation, Astrobot worldwide as of November 3rd has sold a mere 1.5 million copies. Now, Some people are going to be like, oh, no, boom, that's great. It's a platformer. No one really cares about platformers, so that's wonderful. It didn't cost $500 million to make, so yeah, it's a win. I mean, listen, I just want this to be clear because somebody's going to clip this as they've been doing and trying to make me out to be this monster who hates PlayStation. Astrobot, for me, is one of the highlights of 2024. There's no arguing with it. You're never going to change my mind. I put 40 plus hours. I got every trophy except for one. The last one that I can't seem to get is those master levels, and it's just egregiously hard. So I'm okay with not getting the platinum. I got every trophy but that last master level one that unlocks after you beat the game, and I'm fine with it. There's going to be some free DLC when those levels come out. There's going to be additional trophies. I will go and get those as well. It is one of my favorite platformers in years. It is one of the biggest highlights because there were not many in 2024 for PlayStation. This is definitely one of them. So this is where I get a little bit disappointed with PlayStation Nation. Now, maybe your casual gamer, right? Your Call of Duty player, Korkenstein, your Apex Legends player, your 2K basketball or Madden player or FIFA. Maybe those players don't care about Astrobot because, well, they're casuals and they bought a PS5 because it's a cool brand to be. It's a cool system to have, right? They're still the market leader. They still do great. They spend a lot of money to advertise. So Sony is still doing what they do, right? No issues, no harm, no foul here. But this is where I have to call out the vocal minority of PlayStation people that are on these social media platforms talking about sales, talking about supporting the devs, talking about Game of the Year, Astrobot. And did any of these mofos buy or even play the game? Well, I don't know because most of them have their trophies hidden. They don't have them on public. Like you can go look at mine right now. You can see every trophy that I have. I think I have 6 platinums in total. Whoop-de-doo, right? But I have platinums. And if you want to check what I've done in Astrobot and see whether or not, well, Boom is fibbing or he is, you can go check right now. I got every trophy but one. I bought the game and I'm supposedly an Xbox. How does this happen is the question. How does 62 plus million PS5s that are out in the wild, and it might be more now because obviously you could probably tack on maybe about 1 million because, again, I don't think the PS5 Pro is going to sell. I think that is, we talked about it on Primetime Gaming, that is going to be potentially a PlayStation VR 2.0 deal. I think it's going to sit on shelves. The price is just too egregious. But bringing it back to what did sell, well, we've been told, Korkenstein, more times than I can count on my hands and toes, how many PlayStation 5 consoles have been sold. 62 million, for the love of the gaming gods, right? It's so many. So how does 62 million consoles are out in the open, out in the wild, sold, that both the journalists and the community are touting best console? Like you see, it's outpacing the PS4, and they only sell 1.5 million copies of one of the best games that Sony has put out in years. You know why? Because it's a farce. Their fandom is a farce, and they play Twitter more than they actually play their consoles, and that is why their trophies are hidden like cowards. Let's get your thought.
Yeah, it's just such a shame too, and I do want to add the caveat too. You know, I know I got my Xbox era shirt on and everything, and I'm an Xbox primarily driven, consumer. But at that point, I loved Astrobot. I had such a fun time with it. I really did dig it. It was such a really cool. I even said it numerous times. It sets the standard. It sets a bar for platformers. I've said it's definitely a reason for Xbox to, look into Banjo-Kazooie. And then we look at these sales, and I mean, 1.5 in 9 weeks that's nothing to scoff at, but it's also, like you said, when they're touting they have 65 million, PS5s out there, or PS consoles out there or whatever, it's kind of, it just reinforces what I've been saying for, the last couple of years now, is that exclusives aren't the revenue drivers you think they are. And it's just such a shame too, because this is such a great game that anybody can play, especially if you're somebody that is, people say, oh, it's a love letter to platformers. And I said, no, it's a love letter to PlayStation.
Indeed.
And it, that's what it is. It's history, the IPs, the things that the characters that you grew up with, that's where it's at. But it's definitely not it's definitely not where I don't think the number should be, with how much the game really got hyped up by the media and by other PlayStation, bigger accounts, focus counts. It bums me out. Like I said, yeah, it just really bums me out because I loved Astro. I just don't understand why. I mean, maybe it's because they've ingrained, and this is the reason why Jim Ryan and them wanted to switch to live service, or rush out, I would have to say, rush out live service, is because of the exclusives part, where they're, sadly, mine hasn't been turned on since Astrobot, since Astrobot released 9 weeks. And maybe that's why they're looking, hey, maybe we should, switch to live service, where like Microsoft's been doing and, Xbox been doing, to where that's where they're generating the revenue. That's where they're getting their MAUs. It's no longer, people will tout it's about these console sales. That's never been a metric. And this is why Xbox moved away from them, is because it's giving false numbers on how well the company's actually doing and what they're actually offering versus, with their MAU count. And that's the sad part, that people kept focusing on, was console sales. It's not about that anymore. It's about how you can get MAUs up each month, and not only that, keep them spending inside your ecosystem. I know I sound like a broken record. I've said this numerous times on previous podcasts. That's the goal. That's the metric. And exclusives don't really do that unless they're live service. And that's where you're seeing, sadly, Redfall didn't pan out. But I mean, I liked Redfall. I'll be the first to admit it. You could throw those tomatoes at me. I don't care.
It's fine. I put 80 hours into it. I don't apologize for it. I freaking loved it. Yeah. Was it perfect? Not even close.
Oh,
but did I have fun? Yes.
Yeah. It was the bones were there, and it's bums me out that they kind of abandoned it. But yeah, and that's where we're seeing those returns, and that's the focus. And I don't think PlayStation has properly set their consumer base up for that. They doubled down heavily on this big blockbuster single player exclusive narrative games, Hollywood narrative games, and then that's why you're seeing, I think, the Japanese market kind of pull away from them, and that gave them plenty of opportunity. Microsoft saw the door wide open and they jumped right in, and now you're getting Death Stranding on PC and Xbox. You're getting Yakuza, Persona 4, or the Persona series, things like that. So it bums me out, but I mean, the only thing that can really fix this is either somebody at Sony or wakes up, or the media and consumers really start holding them accountable. And you're not, I doubt you're going to see any of those two anytime too soon, sadly, even though they should, because Astrobot's such a great game.
It's a shame. Look, like I said, I'm not overly praising it because I'm trying to get any bonus points with PlayStation fans. People are going to boo me anyway, but I at least played the game. I at least finished the game. I at least have every freaking trophy except one. I put over 40 hours and I loved it. And you know what? It's going to be in my personal top 3 of 2024. And I'm not ashamed or sorry to say that. It is anyone that loves platformers needs to play this game. But more so than that, anyone who was a fan of PlayStation during the first 4 console generations could go and find something that's going to make them just smile. And that's what this game does. You pick up the controller, it's quirky, it's funny, it has a lot of different mechanics. It is their version of a Mario game in its best light. And nobody in PlayStation Nation gave a flying hootenanny about it. And that to me is disgusting, especially when you see, and again, we don't do the names thing here on this channel, but you just have to, I'll say it, and you're like, yeah, that was such and such. They were out here championing this game. And you know what's interesting, Fuzzy Belvedere, is what was the conversation like for Hellblade 2? One of the best graphical games, one of the best stories. They have improved in combat, pacing, graphics, storytelling. But what did we hear? What was the rhetoric from everybody that we're talking about from PlayStation Nation who did not go out and buy Astrobot? Oh, Hellblade 2, it's a flop. It didn't sell more than X numbers. Why aren't we getting the numbers? Did it sell more than 2? Did people play it in welfare pass? That was the conversation, right? Well,
Yeah.
We're having a conversation right now. Where is PlayStation Nation? So I'm going to hand over you to Mike. I'm going to get your thoughts on this because 1.5, it with 62 plus million consoles in the wild, is not a good percentage.
No. I mean, I got clipped last time when we talked about Astrobot because I said it wasn't for me. I don't understand why people were talking about Game of the Year for a platformer when there have been better platformers in the past, and people were like, "Oh, he's just an Xbot." Yeah. Where's your sales? Where's your engagement? Where's your user count? I guess I wasn't the only one that it wasn't feeling it. When you have more than half of your PlayStation base playing Call of Duty and you want to clip me over Astrobot, yeah, grab that L. Grab it and hold it tight. It is what it is. I said it was a great tech demo as far as the first one. It's more of the same. It's great that they expanded on it. I never thought it would be a system seller to begin with. I'm amazed that it's done as great as Ratchet and Clank because of the history and the nostalgia with Ratchet and Clank, but it barely topped it. And in the long scheme of things, I don't think it'll top it overall. But we already know that Ratchet and Clank doesn't have a sequel coming out because the Ratchet and Clank directors are now going to be working on Wolverine, and they had internal documents showing that it didn't meet the metrics that they had hoped.
We actually have a super chat I'll get to in a second that breaks that down specifically, and it makes this particular situation with Astrobot even worse. But please continue.
Yeah, so I'm hoping they clip me again on this. It was an underwhelming game for me. I'm glad that people enjoyed it, but considering 1.5 million out of 62 million consoles, and sure, you could say the same thing about Hellblade. Oh, it didn't do this, it didn't do that. I played it, beat it, got my 1,000 gamer score on the first and the second one. I don't have it on PlayStation because I finished about 70% of it, but it's 1,000 gamer score on Xbox. Astrobot didn't platinum it on PlayStation, but platinum Ratchet and Clank. I think I did in like less than 6 hours. So it is what it is as far as people want to talk about the length of a game or the replayability. And at least with the timer thing or the speed run stuff, there is some replayability with Astrobot. But I had said all along it probably should have been a pack-in for the PS5 Pro. Maybe it will be at some point, considering those aren't going to be moving that much either. I mean, kudos to the enthusiasts that see the value in that $700 to $800 box, but you can miss me with that. Same thing with Astrobot, but hey, let's see if it gets nominated and wins anything at the Game Awards. I'm pretty sure Keeley, being the PlayStation fan he is, will. Um, as much as they tried to push that game, it didn't reach the numbers that you would think, considering how many people were talking about it. I mean, it barely outperformed Stellar Blade. Maybe it should be on PC. Maybe they would get those numbers because there aren't that many platformers on PC, or at least modern platformers.
Yeah.
And I said that before, and people were like, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." Well, I guess I still don't. 1.5 million when you have 62 million consoles out there. We could talk about attachment rate and all that stuff, but it would be better off having that game in PS Plus or packed in with the PS5 Pro. I think you would see a lot more engagement on the game. It amazes me that it even had DLC faster than Spider-Man 2 did, considering the lackluster sales, considering for Spider-Man 2, as far as internal numbers are concerned. It did much better than Astrobot did, but they didn't think it did well enough to warrant them doing, DLC, or maybe they'll do it as standalone, kind of like a Miles Morales type of thing, to hit you over the head for another $50 to $70. But people always used to say, ask for more with Xbox, and we've asked for our platformers, and we've asked for our single player and our multiplayer games of choice. It's time you guys start asking for a roadmap beyond Astrobot. But not surprised it only did 1.5 mil in the 2-month period. I would think that should be a day one type of thing, considering Sonic did it on its first day. Yes, I know Sonic is multi-plat, but it's a PlayStation exclusive. I thought exclusives really mattered and moved the needle, or moved the hardware. Yeah, I guess it doesn't, but it is what it is. But be sure to clip me again, and I'm pretty sure I'll have 100 to 300 mentions about how dumb I am or how salty I am. I'm not salty at all. I mean, my PS5 is a little dusty because since the update for Gran Turismo 7 was that a month and a half ago, I haven't really turned it on. So not getting much out of me for the money I put into it, but oh well, it is what it is.
Look, first of all, and I can confirm this, and you can even reach out to King David and ask him. I said it on Primetime Gaming. We have heard from 2 different sources that it was supposed to be in the box of the PS5 Pro, and they took it out at the last minute because they wanted to sell it, and they put the old launch one from the PS5 original launch in 2020 in the box. That's what you got. They wanted to make money on it. The PC thing is a bit of a conundrum, and here's why. I think it was either a week or 2 weeks before Astrobot actually released, there was an update that you could load into your PC that gave you the functionality of your DualSense. So if you would have had an Astrobot game to launch day and date on PC, you could have easily doubled those sales, maybe even tripled them, because listen, the PC audience, they buy PlayStation 5 games, right? That PlayStation 5 gamers double dip sometimes and buy, because they have the rigs and they buy it. It would have probably sold pretty well on PC. Again, this is why Sony is a bit stuck in the past. And their stubbornness to move with the future is why a game like Astrobot sells 1.5 million when there are 62 million consoles in the wild. And to me, it's just a disgrace. But let me catch up on Super Chats. We have Don Otaku, who's on Primetime Gaming and absolutely killed it. Again, he's the one that came up with the terminology of the PlayStation 5 propaganda, which of course is hilarious. Don, welcome back as always. And he drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, anyone saying that Astrobot sales is a win is definitely in the triple P. Now, I don't remember what it is. It's something posse. So obviously it's the PlayStation something posse. So just clarify that for me so I don't get it wrong. He said Rift Apart underperformed at 1.1 million copies sold with 40 million less consoles out in the wild. Think about that for a second. That's what I was talking about. That's why this is even worse, because you release this game and it is a brilliant game. It is the highlight for PlayStation in 2024. There is no arguing that. If it's not for you, I understand it's not for you, but it definitely was for me because I'm a platformer guy. And the fact that there are 62 million consoles out in the wild, and they were able to only scrape up 1.5 million is, to me, once again, a disgrace and a disservice to that brand. Chris713, who's been a channel member for a whopping 15 months, breaks it down even further. He says the Astrobot attach rate at this point is 0.02%. Ouch. Okay, this is supposed to be the console that exclusives matter. I'm just saying. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm 24. Have almost had enough with PlayStation. Grew up as a hardcore PlayStation fan. If you have been keeping up with certain news, your childhood doesn't exist anymore. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, listen, I was much older, and I am much older than you. In fact, as a matter of fact, I'm 30 years older than you. God damn it, that's ridiculous to say that out loud. And I imported PlayStation 1. I've always been a PlayStation fan. I imported the PlayStation 2. Didn't have to do it for 3. Didn't have to do it for 4. And obviously 5 is here. But I love PlayStation. I just hate Sony. I think Sony is just a filthy, dirty company that nickel and dimes their customers, and it's just gross. But we also have another $10 super chat from Don Otaku. So thank you for the generosity, brother. He says also, no one bought Astrobot because we already played a better version of this exact same game. It's called Mario Galaxy. Actually, the original platformers like it Takes Two hit 20 million. And that's something else. I mean, again, it's a smaller title. Obviously, we know Joseph Fares is the director of that studio. He's the most infamous guy with F the Oscars, if you remember, on the Game Awards. Yeah, that's right. It Takes Two, which is a brilliant platformer, just announced that they hit 20 million copies sold across multiple platforms. Now, granted, that game's been out for quite a few years, but to hit 20 million, that's something special. So he's not wrong. Jacob Novick drops a very generous additional $2 super chat and says, it's heartbreaking, but the sad truth. Yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. But, gentlemen, I want to continue our conversation because we're starting to get some rumblings that something is happening next week with Compulsion Games and South of Midnight. Now, why do we say this? Why do we know this? Well, because people are taking pictures in front of the studio, and one of the most infamous of them all is, well, Paris Lilly, of not only Kind of Funny, because obviously he does the it's no longer called XCast, but he's with Kind of Funny, but he also is with Danny Pena in Gamertag Radio. And he put out on the socials that he was going over to Compulsion Games, took a picture in front of it, which is super cool. Again, you love to see that kind of success for Paris. And that's got to be, I mean, obviously I experienced that with Indiana Jones, so I can only imagine that, Paris getting a chance to see South of Midnight, which I think is going to be a brilliant game. It just based on what we saw at Korkenstein from the preview this last June, we didn't know what it was. We didn't know. We were hoping that it was going to be this original IP that was going to have fast-paced action, and we got that and a bag of chips, because not only is it a platformer in third person, it is one that looks like it's done with like claymation type of artwork, which is so unique and so different, and it has a southern drawl to it, of voodoo, and again, it's going to be telling a tale that we haven't seen many games talk about. I'm super excited for it. Again, it's starting to. We don't know what is going to happen next week, but you have some thoughts and theories of what could happen next week with this game. Let's talk about it, man.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna get some pretty big news. We're starting to hit the end of the year, so I mean, there's definitely gonna be no talk. So it's gonna release end of year. But if they're starting this kind of marketing, maybe possibly it could be first quarter of next year. Who really knows? We'll kind of see, I guess, more when we see that coverage of what they've put out. But I think for sure we will be getting a release date. If they're really showing off some of the stuff that I think they're showing off, or that I've kind of heard they're showing off, then yeah, I think we might be getting some really cool stuff coming out to us in the next week or so. It looked great. I mean, like you said, it has that really awesome claymation kind of stop animation, almost like it's that at that 24 frames per second kind of, that really cool sleek animation style to it. So I'm excited for it. I really like it. I think I saw who did I see? Not Paris. I can't believe Khalif, I think Adams, he was posting about it.
Yeah, Khalif was there with him. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
He was posting about saying that's pushing innovation, which excites me because as a former game developer, I love new mechanics. I love new things that really drive the art medium that is video games in a different direction. So I can't wait. I'm excited. I really do hope we get a release date. And, my optimist side, I guess my hopium, I guess you could say, is for first quarter of next year.
Well, look, one of the things that we are hoping for is this cadence that we heard that Xbox wants to do. Now, this was something that they have spoken about. And when I say they, I'm talking about Matt Booty. Matt Booty, a couple of years ago in 2022, if you remember, gentlemen, was quoted in saying, "We have so many games, we don't know what to do with them." Now, unfortunately, that did not go over well with Xbox Nation, as well as, of course, the gaming media, because that particular year was a very, very bad year for Xbox first party. They had some decent third-party games that were overlooked and no one cared about, which I don't know why you wouldn't, because third-party exclusives should be looked upon as important. I mean, Sony's games are looked at. When Sony gets third-party exclusives, everyone, raises it up along with whatever their first party. And again, it works in tandem. That doesn't seem to be the same case with Xbox, and we know that's why we got the hashtag Xbox tax. That's fine. But, this year has been a pretty good year for Xbox. I think especially when you consider what has been in Xbox Game Pass. But to be fair, we haven't had a whole lot of consistency in first party. Now, I heard Mav talk about this a couple of days ago. I think it was on FSP where, he was like, he basically said, after Hellblade, there were a couple of releases. Now, those releases were more important to him than they were for me because they were RTS. Aura, A History Untold, Age of Empires, and those count, folks. Those are games, and they count. Whether they're on console, PC, or both, they count. But they didn't really do anything for me because I don't play those types of games. Now, I'm not discounting them, but what I'm hoping to what Korkenstein is saying is we already know that Avowed is coming out in February of next year. If Korkenstein is correct in what he's saying. Now, Korkenstein, I don't know whether you said you think they're going to get a release date or not. I was doing something else. So if you said that, yeah, I think it's possible that we do get a release date. We might, and if we don't get a release date, then Korkenstein, maybe we get a developer's direct date, because if the cards fall the way they're supposed to fall, we're supposed to get 4 big games plus Call of Duty next year for Xbox. Now, 3 of them are going to be console exclusives. Doom, which is, I would imagine, somewhere, again, I think it's third quarter. It could very well be fourth quarter, but I think it's going to be third quarter. That's obviously a multi-plat. But you do have a couple of other games in there that are going to be exclusive to Xbox, this being one of them. If they could hit the mark right and get that cadence that they've been talking about, it is going to really solidify 2025. And again, it's just rhetoric and it's just conversation that we're having, Fuzzy Belvedere. I honestly believe that at the end of the year, which of course we have the Game Awards happening in December, I believe it's December 9th. That's going to be happening. I think we're going to get a presentation or an unveiling from Sarah Bond of the handheld. That's my personal hope. I don't know for sure. I think it'd be great if that was shown off this year and it's coming out holiday of next year. And then, of course, you have this lineup of games plus what we already have in Xbox Game Pass. It would be a freaking grand slam. I know we don't have a lot to go on with this story, and it's not one that we're going to spend a lot of time on, but I thought it was important enough to talk about because, well, there are people previewing that game. And if there's one thing that I have to agree with Korkenstein, Fuzzy Belvedere, is that you don't show off a game a year before it's supposed to release unless you are unbelievably confident that you have something here. Let's get your thoughts, man. Oh, you're muted, brother.
If we remember right, sorry about that. If we remember right, one of the things that Phil had talked about when people asked him like a year or two ago, what is one of the most anticipated games that he's, looking forward to, and he was like the one that Compulsion's working on, and we can see why. With them, starting to ramp up some of the buzz on this game, I expected it will be probably an early next year type of deal, not too far after Avowed. We already know Avowed's in February. I mean, they could hit us over the head and give us a big surprise with this being a January release, but I think we get to see that in like a dev direct type of deal, kind of like what we've seen the past couple of years where they show some of the games a little bit early in the year. But it's great that they're starting to talk about this now. That gives me the confidence that they're, close to wrapping up. I know like a year or so ago, they were, fidgeting with a few things on the audio side of things, as well as some of the, like boss encounters and stuff like that. So there was talk of a possible delay, but it looks like they've gotten a lot of those things worked out. And if they're doing this, that means that they've been able to be on track from like the 2 year ago point that I heard up to now. So they should have a nice surprise for us here in the next week, so we can see, hopefully a release date when we get to play this game. But if not, something leaning towards the dev direct, so that way we know to look forward to that, as well as probably a deeper dive on Avowed, and hopefully at least 2, maybe 3 other games, maybe a partner surprise again from Square. But yeah, it's great that they're talking about this game. I love the traversal that they showed at the June showcase, just this, earlier this year. Also love that they have like the boss battles in like a walled off area for, I guess the Haints is what they refer to them as, like those spiritual, like bad spirit things that you're gonna have to fight. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how this game plays out. And if they also have this quote unquote rumored handheld that they're talking about, taking this game on the go would be an awesome kind of thing. It'd be kind of like a platformer in a way, I guess you could say. And a platformer on the go would be a win for Xbox at that point. But I love what I've seen so far of this game. If we get to see more of it, I'm even more excited. Just looking forward to playing this one and can't wait.
Yeah, listen, it's different, right? Like that. One of the things I think you can honestly and earnestly say about Xbox, especially Xbox Game Pass, gentlemen, is the fact that the diversity of games in there range from games made from a single person like Vampire Survivors. Yes, it's multiplayer. I mean multi-plat, but it's in Game Pass. It launched into Xbox Game Pass, and you have games like that. And I'll tell you this right now, for me personally, I want to continue to help sell this game for Ponicle. Please go buy the game and try the Ode to Castlevania DLC. If you are an OG and you love Castlevania, holy shit, it is a freaking love letter. Every Belmont you could possibly imagine is in this game. It is, look, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm so nerdy about this. It is a freaking amazing. And why I love this story, and again, I know I'm going off kilter here. I apologize for the rant. Why I love this story is because the whole point of Vampire Survivors was because he loved Castlevania. And he made it into this roguelite using 8-bit graphics. And at the end of the road, after everything he's done, it started out with the Contra DLC, which again, absolutely freaking brilliant. And now the ode to Castlevania. If you go to buy it, it's $3.74 for the DLC, and you will spend hundreds of hours in this freaking game. But
I do want to
Please.
clarify real quick. Thank you to Rick L and Jesse James. I said 24 frames per second. I didn't mean the actual gameplay. I meant the cinematics and the movement of the character. The character looks like it has, when they did the Miles Morales.
Yes. Yes.
Added it to the Spider-Man game. The character looks like it moves at 24 frames per second. But I didn't mean the whole gameplay. It will probably be 60 frames per second.
At least it's going to be but the art style, the interpretation of the art style he's talking about. So that, again, shout out to those two for clarifying it. I'm glad that came up. But look, this bringing it all the way back, and again, apologies for the Vampire Survivors rant. Every time I can talk about it, I'm going to talk about it because I want to meet this man and I want to give him $100 and a hug. Like, he has just take my money, please. Can I get a hug, dude? Because for me, it's probably my favorite game in the last decade. Every time I have just one of those days, I don't want to get into a game, but I want to play something. I revert right back to Vampire Survivors, and I'm locked in for an hour. I'm locked in for 2 hours. I walk away and I'm like, yeah, the world is. I'm looking at the rose-colored glasses after playing this game. It's just wonderful. But look, this is a game I'm excited for Xbox fans. I'm excited for Compulsion, and why I'm excited for Compulsion is they're the little studio that could. Remember, the last game that you played from them was, not that well received, right? With the happy pills, and I actually thought it was going to be more like BioShock, and I was very excited for the game based on what they showed us. And it just, I put a couple hours in, got a couple of achievements. It just wasn't for me. Was it a terrible game? No, it wasn't a terrible game. It just wasn't what I wanted. So they've been hard at work at this game, and harkening back to I think it was I don't know who said it about Phil Spencer's comments. I might have been Fuzzy. I remember that conversation. He was specifically interviewed and asked regarding what IPs are being worked on that we haven't seen as of yet. What's the most exciting for you? And he said he picked two, but his number one pick was Compulsion's game. And we didn't know what it was all those years ago. And then obviously this June, they showed us, and it's unique. It's different. I know nothing of her, but the protagonist has already got me hooked. Like, I want to know her story. I cannot wait to get into the magic and where her family comes from. I mean, it seems dope to me. I'm very excited. Again, shout out to Paris Lilly, shout out to Khalif Adams, and anyone that got a chance to go take a look at this behind the closed doors and preview the game. That's awesome, man. You just love to see the success, and I'm happy for Compulsion, and I'm even more excited for the game now that they're showing it behind closed doors and they're previewing the game to people in the industry. And this game, and I say it's a year out. I don't know it's a year out. Like, it could come out in January. It could come out in March. It could come out in April. I do hope that they do settle in on this quarter. You have Avowed in February, right? That's your first quarter. Then you have obviously April, May, and June. Then you got July, August, September, and then you got the final quarter. What the final quarter is going to be is probably going to be one of the last big ones, as well as Call of Duty. And now you have to figure out where you're going to put the others. if they can find a way to make this second quarter, which you get that April, May, June, right? That's great. Give it some room to breathe on its own. Obviously, July, August, September, you got your Doom, and then the two big ones at the back end. Plus, and I keep saying this, folks, and I'm going to stick with it because they keep talking about it. But In Exile, their game, I think, is close, and I think it's 2025. Like I honestly do, and that would be another quote unquote banger. But I know that I did not have this on the docket. I've already said my piece on it, but I would be remiss as a host if I did not get the two panels' opinion about Kojima and what he's done, in my opinion, to Sony yesterday. Because look, we know that he is now the sole owner of the IP. Sony sold those rights because they owned it. They owned Death Stranding. They have been sold back to Kojima. He has full control. And in his first statement regarding it, he said that Death Stranding moving forward is going to be experienced by more gamers. And Jez Corden wrote an article where he did an update where he says now that he has control of it, there is a really good shot that Death Stranding 2 will be dropped onto Xbox Game Pass. Now, I don't think that is going to be day and date. I think Sony has that locked up, as you would expect. That's what they do, right? But is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? I don't think it's going to be 5 years like the original. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be sooner. I just don't know how much sooner that would be. But that's not really the story here. Yeah, it's a part of it. Yes, I'm happy for Kojima. Yes, I'm happy for the fact that he has full control over the Decima engine, which he obviously he does, and the fact that he has control over his IP, and now he can put that everywhere, of course, on Xbox. But the fact that Death Stranding was quote unquote shadow dropped, no one saw this coming. I didn't hear anything from any of my connections that, hey, look for this, boom, something's happening. Nothing. I just opened up my DM, and I actually got to go back and you know what, real quick, let me see who the hell I think. Okay, so I think it was Wandering Dutch in our prime time gaming that put it there, and I was like, I immediately put my phone down. I went to my Xbox, I turned it on, and I typed in Death Stranding as one word, and I'm like, it's not coming up. Nah, that's not right. And then I said, you know what? Let me space it out. And it came up and it said $20. And I'm like, I got to take a picture of this. Doesn't seem right. Like, this is crazy talk. This is PlayStation exclusive. And then of course, gentlemen, the Boo Birds, they come out and they're like, boom, because that's how they sound, right? That's how they sound. It's 505 Games that's publishing. But you might be onto something with that. 505 Games did publish it. In fact, they published it for Xbox Game Pass for PC. I think it was the beginning of the year or last year. But you know what you still see? And shout out to Crazy Louie. He did a tweet that has over 1,000 likes, lots of comments. He takes his camera, he puts it in front of the screen, and the first thing that loads up on your Xbox is Sony Interactive Entertainment Presents. That is glorious to see, because I was told, gentlemen, that only Xbox sends their games everywhere, right? That's not happening. So this is why I say I believe that this release is the canary in the coal mine. And I think next year, because Sony needs money, let's be quite frank here. They need money. They've made some poor investments over the last 18 to 24 months to the point where they've lost not millions, billions with a B. They need money. Helldivers 2 is happening. What else is happening? Lego Horizon is next year. I think it's first quarter. I think that's going to come to Xbox as well. They need money. And when that happens, when those two games happen on Xbox in 2025, that's when the floodgates open up. Now, again, I'm very serious about this. I don't see Horizon. I don't see Last of Us. I don't see God of War coming to Xbox. It doesn't even, saying it out loud is just weird. That's the same way I feel about Gears of War, Halo, and Forza going to Xbox. Now, is that going to happen? Some people say yes. I still think it's weird. I think there's some games that just shouldn't cross lines. But Spider-Man is another one I think is happening. I really do. I really think that 2018 Spider-Man and Miles Morales could come out for $70 on Xbox, not on Xbox Game Pass. Literally launch for $69.99, and Xbox gamers, including myself, who've already beaten both of those games, would easily buy it. But I want to go right to you, Korkenstein. How shocked were you yesterday to see Death Stranding enhanced, the Decima engine enhanced for Xbox Series X and S? I don't know. I'm just smiling. It's just making me happy.
Yeah, it definitely didn't have it on my bingo card. It just all of a sudden, just out of left field, I woke up to the news. I guess it got published like at 2 or 3 in the morning my time. So I woke up to the news and was just completely just like, oh wow, that happened. What's going on here? I thought they weren't bringing the director's cut because that was under no Xbox or whatever, because that was still Sony published, I guess, because we got Death Stranding the original because of a loophole with 505 publishing it, things like that. And then now the director's cut, which they said wasn't coming, is now there, and it just floored me. So I was like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And then we found out Kojima bought back the IP. So I've been having fun with it. I've been playing it since yesterday. My Call of Duty kind of ran into some issues, so I was like, let me take a break from the sweat fest. I jumped into some more relaxing Death Stranding game. But yeah, I was completely shocked by it. We'll see if they change the splash video, that little splash screen that says Sony Interactive coming up. I think it is 505 that's still publishing it, because that
comes up afterwards, though. At first it's Sony, and then it's 505 Games. Both logos come up.
Yeah, because then 505 has like the marketing, like, oh, we want to, if you agree to have your stats and stuff or whatever sent, you have to agree to that. So I think it really is 505, and somebody just kind of dropped the ball on getting the Sony splash screen out, unless maybe they are partly publishing it. I don't know the legalities of it, but we'll have to wait and see what they do with it on the next patch. As far as Death Stranding 2, I think that's coming for sure. Like you said, I don't think it's day and date. I can't see Sony just being like, okay, here's the IP back, release it whenever you want, even though we hyped this game up already, at our showcases. So I think if I had to guess in true Sony fashion, it'd probably be a year. But it just depends on if Kojima could kind of whittle them down to less in negotiation wise, but we won't know until it happens. But I think Death Stranding 2 for sure. Xbox is coming. Helldivers 2, according to Nick from Xbox Era, is no longer happening. I guess is what he heard. I still think it is, but I mean, you never know. I guess supposedly maybe Sony wanted like Xbox to pay for everything. I think is one of the guesses that might be happening, which I think totally is valid. You want you want it on Xbox, you have to pay for the development, you have to pay for the marketing, you have to, that sounds like Sony, or PlayStation. So but he said, I think that he heard the talks have stopped. Again, it's all rumor mill. It's all rumors, so we have no idea. I still think it's coming, but again, time will tell.
I mean, listen, whether that happens or it doesn't, it makes sense. It certainly makes dollars and cents, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for it to release. But I mean, if what you're saying is something that actually happened, where Sony wants Xbox to pick up all of the cost, then what's the point, right? And at that point, I would even say no. I'm like, no, it's okay. You know what? We have Halo. We relaunched it. We got a third-person Halo. People are playing it. People are enjoying it. We have the our own version of it, thanks to the Forge Falcons, right? So people are playing that. There is actually a Hell Jumpers version of Helldivers for Halo. People are playing it. People are enjoying it. It's done very well. It's been reviewed very, very well. So I mean, it's a shame because I very much enjoyed Helldivers 2. Would I buy it again? No questions asked. I absolutely would. But the bigger story here is that, and this is why I encourage people. Listen, if you're an Xbox only gamer and you want PlayStation games to come over to Xbox, go buy Death Stranding. Now, ultimately, like I said, the money is no longer going to Sony, but they're going to get that, probably going to get their 30% or whatever. I don't know how that works. I'm not in the room signing contracts, so I don't know. But it's $20. It's literally half price, and it's the best version of the game. It's enhanced for Xbox Series X and S. And to me, I just think it just destroys all of the narratives, Fuzzy Belvedere, that have been out there about Xbox being the only brand to put their games on other platforms. Now, granted, listen, I think more are happening. We've heard more are happening. We've also heard that Xbox has slowed down what they're going to put on PlayStation because of some of the backlash from Xbox players. But more importantly, I have heard from the reception that they didn't get from PlayStation players. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's a rumor. But, you know, obviously there hasn't been any in a minute. There is supposedly, I think, who was it? Age of Empires 2 might be the next one because somebody saw it online. And, I mean, who cares? Age of Empires 2 has been on PC for how many years? So it goes to PlayStation. Whoop-de-doo, whatever. I don't think that's one you should cry about, to be honest. But some people are purists. And I actually had a mindset, you know, back in the days, even the beginning of the year, I would, you already know my story. I would run it like Peter Moore. That's how, but I run it, but that's not how business works in 2024. So I get it. Let's get your thoughts, for the Belvedere, on the fact that Death Stranding, a prominent and publicly, championed PlayStation 4 and 5 exclusive, is now on the Xbox Series X and S, and it's enhanced no less.
I'm not surprised. When it was in Xbox's store and on Game Pass, I figured there's something there more than just the 505 deal as far as publishing. Sure, they could have grabbed the bag from Microsoft as far as putting it on Game Pass, but having it in the store, much like Forspoken was, I kind of knew something was going to happen. I'm kind of surprised Forspoken hasn't come over yet. I don't know if that's solely owned by Square or not. I know it was funded by PlayStation, but at this point, I don't think it performed to anyone's liking on either PlayStation side or Square side. So I wouldn't be surprised if that comes over as well. But I think we have to take a moment and step back and look at the $400+ million loss that Sony took on Concord, and know that they're probably, with Hiroki Totoki being a guy about money, he's going to take a different look at things. And if they can recoup that loss in a different way, and their fans still buy their products, although it seems like they're still pushing more for PC, considering, something like Astrobot selling 1.5, while great, not as great as they probably hoped. Knowing Sony, they were probably hoping for 5 million pretty easy on that title. But I would say it's great for us here on Xbox as far as having that come to our platform. If you were in the PC side of things on Xbox, you had already probably got to play it through PC Game Pass probably like 5 or 6 months ago, or even longer than that. It wasn't the director's cut, but it was like at least the base game. I wouldn't be surprised if, like someone mentioned in the chat, I think it was Mooney that made mention in the chat, Something like Horizon, considering the Decima engine runs on a series console. It's like, I know some people were like, "Oh, that would never run." It's like, it's these things are like PCs. If it can run on one box, it'll run on another box. It's not like PS3 or earlier days where proprietary hardware really made that much of a difference. But I wouldn't be surprised if more titles come. Now, will they be ones that they've partnered on? Probably you'll see more of that. A licensed IP, I don't know. I think Spider-Man is definitely one that they will consider, considering how much Disney has taken out of their pocket on each sale, especially when it's bundled with a console. So that one is definitely one that they're probably looking at. But in the grand scheme of things, I think something like Horizon, especially if it winds up selling, like the Lego one at least, winds up selling better on a Switch than it does on a PlayStation. Yeah, I think I wouldn't say all bets are off the table at that point, but you best believe that they're going to be looking closer at other platforms and not just PC at that point, and not just mobile, considering they closed their mobile studio. So it is what it is. But not surprised. But it's a game I tried. Be prepared for the first few hours. A lot of cutscenes. If you can get through that, I hear it's a great game. But the cutscenes, it's going to take another go at it for me to give it a try again. But like when I put 2 or 3 hours and it was 45 minutes of cutscenes or more, yeah, I probably had enough at that point. But I think I'm past a lot of the cutscenes where I'm at one of the bases because I made my first quote unquote delivery or independent delivery. But it is what it is. Good, a great looking game, but and I'm pretty sure it looks great on the Series X. But yeah, PlayStation cats, don't be surprised if more come over from partnered studios. I'm pretty sure Stellar Blade is hitting PC probably soon. Wouldn't be surprised if it comes to Xbox at some point.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a lot of other ones like that, and we'll see how the reception is in Team Blue, because I know they're drooling over Indiana Jones in May. So you could either wait or you could sign up for Game Pass and play it next month. But the choice is yours at that point.
Yeah, we actually have a story that's breaking literally right now, and we're gonna talk about that in a second. But real quick, Jeff Keighley out there doing what he does when it comes to PlayStation. Obviously, you guys and gals remember that we opened up the show with the 1.5 million copies of Astrobot, which I believe to be egregious. The game is so good, it's a gaming crime that it didn't sell more. So I had originally said 62 million consoles sold. Well, thanks to Jeff Keighley and the Game Awards, we have the official announcement from him. He's basically a Sony. So when he talks, I listen because he's speaking for Sony. It's not 62 million, folks. It is a whopping 65.5 million consoles that have been sold to date, meaning as of today's date, they have sold 65.5 million units. Now, that is incredibly impressive. There is no doubt about that, but it's not the end all for metrics. But again, it just makes the conversation that we had earlier a tad worse, in my opinion, because 65.5 million units sold and only 1.5 million copies of Astrobot sold worldwide. That's a really bad ratio. That is a very, very low attachment rate, and it's a shame. I know that I some people are like, oh, Boom, you overhyped the game. No, I didn't. I absolutely adored every second of Astrobot that I played. That's it. There's no arguing with me. When the new DLC drops, and I don't know if it has, I'm gonna put it back on and play and run through all of it, because I just loved every second of that game. But the breaking news, folks. And let me know what. Let me just make sure I'm caught up on super chats here. So, Corkenstein, thanks for the breaking news. We do have a couple super chats. Michael Mooney drops not one but two £5 super chats. The first one says PlayStation hardware down 22%, but software up 28% over the 3 months period, including the Black Ops 6 and before PlayStation 5 Pro. I mean, listen, there are a lot of consoles out there. They're going to sell a lot of games. I mean, listen, PlayStation has great exclusives on paper, not so much when it comes to what they've released for the PlayStation 5. We all want those bangers. They have two next year, one of which is Death Stranding 2 and Ghost of Yotai, which I'm probably, the Death Stranding 2, I don't know if I buy day one. I might just wait for that to come to Xbox. Ghost of Yotai that's not even a question. I'm buying that. And again, I don't care if it's woke. I don't care if it's a Miles Morales experience in size and scope. I'm playing it. I love Ghost of Tsushima so much that I freaking platinumed it, and I'm going to play through this game. There's, again, no arguing with me there. His second super chat of £5 says, Guerrilla Games would have had to help with the port as it uses their engine, so they likely have Xbox development kit for Horizon's next. Now, granted, yeah, I see I misspoke once again. I don't know why I do that. I keep saying that the Decima engine is Kojima. It's not. That is the Horizon team. I don't know why I get that wrong all the time. So again, thank you for the correction, brother. I know you didn't mean it as one, but it reminded me that, of course, I got it wrong. So, it's interesting. I personally can never see in my mind that a Horizon, a God of War, or an Uncharted come to Xbox. It just seems weird. Now, would I love that? Well, I'd love it on a couple of levels, one of which would be slanderous. But as a gamer, I would play those games again. I would run through all of Uncharted again on my Xbox. I would. Am I port begging? No, because I've beaten all those games 10 times over. I go back and I play 2. It's my favorite in the series yearly. Like, I just go back and I play it because it's so freaking good. Uncharted 2 is my favorite in the series, and there's not even a comparison. It is just so good. So it's one of those games I just go back to, and I love starting from the beginning because that when you're hanging off the train and you first put foot to snow and you see the footprint, it's like, wow, I can't believe what we're playing here. This is crazy. But enough of that gushing over Uncharted. We are here to talk about the breaking news thanks to Corkenstein. And let me just get to it. Wario64 has reported that Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, which I got a chance to play for 2+ hours, a gameplay deep dive is premiering on November 11th at 7 a.m. Pacific time. That will be for here on the East Coast, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there is a link. Now, there was another post prior to this from Bethesda that said about this. So it's basically confirmed. And Wario64 is one of the best in the business when it comes to this. So Corkenstein, look, again, I got a chance to preview it. A lot of people did. And most people walked away incredibly impressed. And I'm one of them. The game feels like a film. You feel like Indiana Jones. Everything that you loved about the film is there on display. The sound, the atmosphere, the music is just so good. It's so well done, and the voice acting is just tip of spear. This is really good. I'm very excited for this because this game obviously is releasing in December. Where are we now? We're just about a month away. A month away from its release. Now it says deep dive, so I would imagine that this may be something similar to like a developer's direct, right? Like that's what it seems like to me. I don't know if they're not calling it that, but when you say gameplay deep dive and it's premiering, that sounds like it's going to be something special. Let's get you. What do you want to see? What do you want to see?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to everyone to give away the whole entire game of what it is and stuff like that, but I definitely want to see how the game works, how they're going to capture that cinematic feel. Like I said, I've heard from numerous people already that yeah, it's like you're in the movie, and that's awesome for me. Like I said, I dressed up as like Indiana Jones when I was a kid for like three years in a row. This is one of my all-time favorite IPs growing up. So when I really get this, I really do want them to nail that cinematic feel. And then with this gameplay deep dive, I want to see how the mechanics work, how the puzzles are gonna how they're gonna factor those in, see more of the flow of the game. I think they've said, before that, it's not, Indie's not this run and gun, mega fly over a wall kind of shooting John Woo style, kind of game. It's very more kind of not stealth gameplay, but I kind of want to see that balance of, action and stealth that they have for the game. But yeah, I just want to see the game. That's all I want to see. I just want to see the game because I'm just apps. I bought the collector's edition off of Bethesda store, so hopefully that comes soon, or that comes day and date. And yeah, I can't wait to just see more indie. Hopefully they have the choo choo again. Mav loves the choo choo.
It's on every one of his shows. Yeah, he does really love that.
Yeah, he got like 5 like subs or like 10 subs in a row, and it was just like for like a minute, it was just like choo choo, just the whole way through. It was awesome. I love Mav.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal content creator, but I love it that he has that clip. I mean, because it's hilarious. It is funny. Yeah. You know what? Real quick, Scott Woodford had dropped a very generous $2 super chat, and I want to thank Scott for being here, and brother, thank you so much for the generosity as always. He says Kojima now owns the Death Stranding IP. Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're not talking about it per se, but it's a bit telling. I should have said this, and I said it the other day. As a business person, when you take something that you own that has value and you sell it, there are a couple of reasons why you sell it. If you're Sony, it's because you need money, right? That's just what it is. Sorry if any PlayStation fans are upset about what I just said, but that's the reality. They sold the IP because they're making cuts, and they're trying to make things more cost effective. Now, either they sold them the IP back because they needed money, or they didn't want to pay him the money to keep the game exclusive. So one way or the other, they needed money. And they're doing cost cutting techniques to try and make up. They just lost $400 million over the course of 8 years, thanks to Concord. That they didn't even sell that game. They sold it and gave back the money. They made nothing. They made nothing on that investment. Not good. But Fuzzy, let's bring you in on the newest information that comes the way of Wario 64. Bethesda themselves has a press release. It literally said the same thing, so I'm not going to read it verbatim. But yes, there is a preview happening on the 11th of November at 7 a.m. Pacific time. It is the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle gameplay deep dive. And I think you can consider like a developer's direct because, well, that's what it is. What do you want to see, and what are you expecting?
This is kind of catching me off guard as far as this announcement. I would have figured after they had, kind of like that behind the curtain kind of viewing for some of the people in the community, that was going to be all that we got to see before, release date kind of thing. So I'm excited to see what more they have to show. It makes me wonder, and I know this is going to probably be, down the rabbit hole of conspiracies and stuff like that, but, it'd be a shame with this game being so much like the movie series and having that, immersion type of feeling, that it would miss the Game Awards this year. Although I know if a game is almost at the point where it's able to release or at least have the reviewers that would, nominate titles can get their hands on that game. Maybe it gets a nomination, even though it misses the, so-called cutoff. I know that there was kind of an exception made for God of War one year, and they've done it in the past where as long as the reviewers have the copy in hand before the cutoff, it can be included. So I'm wondering if maybe this is a way to get this included into the game of the year nomination. But I'm just looking forward to seeing more of the hand-to-hand combat, because it looks like this is going to be one of the best games as far as first person hand-to-hand or melee combat, which is probably one of the most difficult things in games. Just look at like Cyberpunk and many other games. About the only other game, although it took a while to get used to, that I like the first person combat was Kingdom Come Deliverance, but that's after you learn how to stab people or block and stuff like that. It takes a while to kind of get acclimated to it, but I'm looking forward to more of that combat. I'm looking more towards the traversal and how it switches from third to first or first to third person and things like that. Like some of the stuff that we saw in the gameplay that you guys had from like a week or so ago. But I just can't wait to get this game in hands. But I'm hoping maybe this is a way that reviewers, the ones that can nominate titles, get this in hand, and maybe that gets them in the door for a last minute decision for game of the year kind of thing. Because I'm pretty sure the cutoff has got to be like either next week or sometime real soon. So it would be nice, because this definitely has some of the makings of what you would expect as far as from an immersion standpoint, the buzz that's generating around it, the storyline, the fan base for indie. Yeah, I think this one should make the cutoff, but I'm looking forward to see what more they have to show us. And I have a gut feeling this is going to be one of those things where those that pre-ordered it for their PlayStation may want to just hurry up and pick up an Xbox to play it, kind of thing. But we'll see. I'm not going to wait.
I mean, listen, obviously, if one of the running narratives for PlayStation gamers has been the fact that they don't need an Xbox, right? They have their PlayStation 5s and they're very happy with it, and they have their PCs, which is great. And now whether or not they have Switches or not, it's irrelevant. It's a relevant part of the conversation. If you are a PlayStation gamer and that is your main hub of enjoyment, that's great. That's awesome. And you have a PC, don't wait for Indiana Jones. I'm here to tell you, and I'm limited to what I can say. I can talk about my preview. I can tell you everything that these two gentlemen said are what you should expect. It is immersive. It is a love letter to Indiana Jones. It's done with respect. It's done so good. Troy Baker is, if he doesn't win, I don't even know if it gets nominated, but if he doesn't win for voice actor of the year for his role as Indiana Jones, it's going to be a crime. Because if you just close your eyes, listen to his voice, it's indistinguishable. Like, you can't tell that it's not Harrison Ford. He did such a ridiculously great job. To me, it's probably his best work to date. And that's how good he sounds. The music is something right out of Lucasfilms. It's just iconic Indiana Jones. The way he talks when he's fighting, after he beats up somebody, he has those Indiana Jones quips that that he says. It's there. The sound, like in regards to the use of the whip, the punching, when you push a Nazi off a ledge, they have that very infamous that you hear in Hollywood, that scream. It's there, like right out of the film.
A Wilhelm scream.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Exactly. There you go. Now I will tell you this. I'm going to say this right out of the gate, and I said this in my preview. If you are expecting Castle Wolfenstein or Castlevania, or Call of Duty Black Ops, then you're going to be heavily disappointed. It is not that type of game. It is an action-adventure game that does have gameplay. And like I said, during my 2+ hour preview, I didn't shoot anybody. I beat everybody up. It's stealth is a major part of the game. If you're not a stealth gamer, then maybe this isn't for you. They encourage stealth. They encourage exploration. There's multiple ways through a particular part of the level, whether you go straight forward, whether you go around to the side, whether you use the whip to climb up onto the rooftops. There's all kinds of ways to do it. It's great. It's not a slow burn. It is a it's not it, but again, it's not a fast-paced action game. It is an adventure game. And if you like the film, and again, this is where I think I don't know if it appeals to the young audience. That's just my take on it. I don't know. I mean, anyone that's over 30 or above is absolutely going to love this game. Graphics are unbelievable, sound phenomenal, voice acting, control is great. Its graphics are beautiful. I mean, it's a giant W. Again, PlayStation is getting it in the spring. I don't know whether that's April, May, but March, whatever. And they're going to enjoy it there. But as Xbox gamers, we're getting it December 9th. And of course, we'll have coverage on this channel for the developer deep dive of Indiana Jones when that happens. And I don't even know what day it is. Whatever day that is, we're going to be covering it later on because it's 10 a.m. Eastern. It's probably going to be about maybe 30 or 40 minutes, I would imagine. And then if it's during the week and we have a show during the week at 12, we'll be covering it there. So looking forward to that. I want to shout out Eris_EMS for once again gifting 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships. That is very kind of you. The consistent generosity is just, I don't really have any words for it other than a giant thank you. It really does help. And then, we pour all of these super chats and these channel memberships back into the community. Look, what we're going to do is we're going to get everyone out of here. Again, this is just about a 90-minute show, but I do want to remind folks that on the 20th of this month, Mrs. Boom and I are doing a very special giveaway. It's massive. We announced it last year, and unfortunately, due to, circumstances outside of their control, Stalker 2 was delayed a couple of times. It is officially launching on the 20th, and to celebrate that launch, and again, this is all on the backs of Mrs. Boom and myself, thanks to the generosity of the people. I got no help from Microsoft. We got no help from the developer. It's just going to be us giving the game away. We're giving away 15 copies of Stalker 2. We're doing that, why? For a couple of reasons. One of which is, the developer has been through the ringer, been through the mill. They've been uprooted out of their home in Ukraine. They have had team members that stayed behind during the Russian war and have died in the line of duty. They are currently safe and sound, including their families in Prague. And everyone has known their story. We just want to give back to the small, mom and pop organization like Double Barrel Gaming, giving back to a mom and pop. They're a little bit bigger than us, obviously, but we're giving back by supporting the dev. That's right. We're actually buying the games at full boat, and we're giving 15 copies away. Whatever week that is, I don't know. I haven't looked. It's just been so busy. It's being released on the 20th, which I believe is a Tuesday. Whatever that Breakfast with Boom date is when we're giving it away. We usually do the giveaways during Breakfast with Boom. It just works, so we're going to keep it there. But again, we can't do any of that without the help of you. But let's get everyone out of here. Cork and Sign. Let's sell the brand, and obviously it's still up for everyone to check out. Game Pass Gumbo. They did an MRE Call of Duty special, which went really well, but not so much for their bowels afterwards. Talk about it, Cork and Sign. Where can they subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow you on social media?
Yeah. So, thank you again to everybody in the chat. You guys have been completely awesome. Like I said, Rick L and Jesse James for correcting me on the 24 frames per second. Like I said, it's just, we get to have awesome conversations and civil discussions, and when we don't agree, we talk about it like awesome, friendly gamers that we are. So again, you have one of the best chats here in the community, and you have some of the best panel members as well. Boom. So thank you. Like I said, Fuzzy, always great to hear your opinion. It's great that you got to clap back a bit and be like, I told you, see, I told you, despite getting clipped that one time. So good job on that, man. And then you could follow me. I'm at the Korkenstein on Twitter, on Threads, and just Korkenstein on Blue Sky as well. So I just joined. I think Fuzzy, you just joined as well.
Yep.
I got to get in on this because Twitter is starting to become a landfill, and it is what it is. So you guys are on Blue Sky, is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky and Threads. And to be honest, it looks like most of Xbox has, the people have decided to move to Threads and other platforms.
Okay.
So I'm seeing bigger engagement numbers there from them. But it could just be a coincidence. You never know. But yeah, you can follow me there. Just search Korkenstein. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one. But I'm on Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And then we will be coming back with Game Pass Gumbo again. I'm working with my other co-host Gold Shell. He made you take over the filming part, but I think we're going to do a Stalker 2 episode, and it's going to be a Ukraine dish. We'll probably do maybe like a pre-record video and just kind of edit it and kind of do like a recipe guide kind of thing. I got to get with him on it real quick to kind of see what our plan of action is. But it looks like definitely Stalker 2 will probably be the next Game Pass Gumbo episode. Nice. I know it comes out, you said on the 20th, right?
20th, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I got to see what day that is, and it'll probably be a weekend that we'll shoot it. The next weekend, we'll shoot it then.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. I just asked Google. That's why you saw me talking, but I had muted. Yeah, so it's Wednesday. Okay. And obviously, which is the 22nd, we'll be doing the big giveaway for the 15 copies. But listen, brother, thank you so much for joining us. Super appreciate you being here each and every Friday. This was great. Great conversation all around. A bit of randomness. We did get really particular with the 1.5 million copies, and I just think that's just sad. I really do. You see that people get on the socials and they rah these games and they don't buy them. It's just disappointing. That game deserves so much more sales. Just like Ratchet and Clank is another one. Ratchet and Clank is brilliant and nobody cared. I'm like, it's just Ratchet and Clank, whatever. But hey, game of the year, game of the century, SSD. That's all you heard, right? It's ridiculous. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand of not only you, kind sir, because you have the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. You're on a gazillion podcasts, but you're also on one with the missus that is happening tonight. And that is Fright Night with Ferocious Feet, Fridays, which of course is today. And I'd like you to sell both brands as well as where they can follow both of you on social media. You're muted again, buddy.
Sorry.
There you go.
Oh boy, it's Friday. I'm a little forgetful today.
It's all right. Listen, you're older like me, brother. We're forgetful old men. It is what it is.
No, but it's always awesome being on here with you, Boom and Korkenstein. I love you guys' takes and just chopping it up with you guys on anything gaming related. It's so much fun to do this on Fridays. Greatly appreciate it. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys checking us out, watching us, and interacting with us and putting your own takes out there in the chat. Love hearing a lot of the conversation on how you're looking forward to gaming, and that's the biggest thing, that we all enjoy this hobby together. And there's so much to look forward to the remainder of this year and early into next year. So man, get those clear out those backlogs and make room for what's coming next, kind of thing. But for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, you can find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Blue Sky, like Korkenstein said earlier. You can also find me on Threads, Instagram, YouTube. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere, either all one word or Fuzzy_Belvedere, and you'll be able to find me. As far as for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, because of a lot of busy stuff going on behind the scenes, there will be no episode tonight, but there is Monster Mania in Oaks, PA. So if you're a horror fan that lives close to PA, head out to Oaks for Monster Mania. I think it's 61 or 62. I can't remember the number right now, but it's going to be a great show. Get some signatures, get some pictures, get some t-shirts and some memorabilia while you're in the area. Definitely something to check out. We'll have Fright Night with Ferocious Free next Friday at 6 p.m. You can check out some of the older episodes on YouTube. Just do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee. I'll put the link in the chat. Greatly appreciate everyone that's checked out that podcast, as well as for checking out this podcast and many other ones that I'm on. We'll also be on Xbox Ultimate later on tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight on Fun Speculations channel. But hope everybody is back here Monday morning for Xbox Lunch Break Special, 12 noon. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks again so much.
Well, thank you very much. We had another super chat pop in here from Day Reezy, who drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Kojima is laughing all the way to the bank now. Yeah, he absolutely is. Again, before I'll say this, and this is just being a little bit scandalous, if you will. If I'm Xbox and I see that Kojima, who we're working with on OD right now, has full control, full rights for Death Stranding 2, that becomes day one drop into Game Pass. Give this man a bag of money. And I think that is what you immediately do. Say, listen, Kojima, OD is going to be something special. We know that they're working on with just Jordan Peele with the quote unquote, according to him, the Avengers of Horror. Yes, I cannot wait to see what they're up to. It is going to be, I believe, an anthology. I think they're going to tell different tales from different directors' point of views. I think it's going to be dope. I go and I say, Kojima, when Death Stranding contract is up with Sony, we want it in Game Pass. Here's a bag of money. That's just my hot take on it. But let's see. Eris underscore EMS is asking, what is Blue Sky? I keep hearing about it. It's just another social media platform like Twitter. Supposedly it's a bit better. A lot of people are on Threads. I'm not on either of them. I got to get with this because this whole thing with Twitter and now block people can just look at your stuff and they can clip you. I don't like what they did. I listen, if someone blocks me because they don't want me to look at their stuff, they should have the right, not for me, to look at their stuff. So if I block an asshole, I don't want that person having access to my content. Now, granted, they can't interact with me, but why do they have the right to interact with my stuff at all? I blocked them. They're bullies or they're pieces of shit. Whatever it is, I don't want them looking at my stuff, which is why I have a heavy block hand, because I'm 54 and I don't got time for this. And unfortunately, that's now been ruined by the powers that be of X, which used to be one of the best social media platforms in the world, and now it's just a shell of its former self. But that is going to do it for us here today. Hopefully you fine folks have a great Friday. Enjoy gaming, what you're enjoying gaming on. I'm going to get back to Death Stranding. I'm going to play some Call of Duty. And I'm going to get back to Vampire Survivors because, my God, it's so freaking good. And Mario Brothership. Mario and Luigi Brothership came out today. I got my copy, so I'm going to probably be playing that. And, of course, a big thank you to all of the super chats, the channel member chats that continue to come in. Mrs. Boom and I unbelievably appreciate the generosity. And, of course, for Fuzzy Belvedere, for Korkenstein and myself, have a great weekend. Be safe. And like I said, again, enjoy gaming on whatever platform you enjoy gaming. And I want to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully, one day, it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.